It's every day that we hear people talking about vibe coding. Founders building full apps in a weekend, no developers needed, and honestly, it's impressive. The tools are genuinely good. But after helping dozens of founders build web applications, I keep seeing the same pattern. They vibe code a prototype, it works, they push it live. 3 months later, they're in my inbox asking for a complete rebuild. And not because vibe coding is bad, it's not, but because there's a gap between working prototype and a production-ready product that nobody explains properly. So let me break down when vibe coding makes sense, when it doesn't, and how to do it without ending up as one of the horror stories. By the end of this video, you will have what you need to make sure you won't go down the wrong path. The term was coined by Andrej Karpathy in February 2025, former head of AI at Tesla, co-founder of OpenAI. Here's how he described it. I accept all, always. I don't read the diffs anymore. The code grows beyond my usual comprehension. It's not really coding. I just see stuff, say stuff, run stuff, and copy paste stuff. That's the key thing. Vibe coding means accepting AI-generated code without fully understanding it. You describe what you want, the AI builds it. You accept and move on. It works, but you don't really know how or why. By the way, this is different from AI-assisted coding, where you use AI to help you, but you're still in the driver's seat. Vibe coding, you're in the passenger seat, hoping the AI knows where it's going. When it comes to building web applications, most people think they only have two options. Either you vibe code and move fast, or you hire a dev team and spend 6 to 12 months building it the traditional way. But it's actually a spectrum. On one end, you have traditional development, custom code from scratch, React, Next.js, whatever. Maximum flexibility, but it's expensive and slow. It requires a technical team. This makes sense for complex enterprise software. In the middle, you have no-code and low-code tools. Visual builders with real architecture underneath, like Webflow, Wiz, Xano, Bubble. You can see the logic, you can understand what's connected. It's faster than traditional development, but you have more control than vibe coding. And then you have vibe coding, AI generating everything from your prompts. Cursor, bolt, lovable, replit agent. Fastest way to get something working, but you end up with code you don't understand. But here's something important though. It's not pick one forever. Many founders vibe code a prototype first, validate the idea, then rebuild it properly. That's completely valid. The gap comes when you treat a prototype like a finished product. Easy mistake to make when the prototype actually works. Now let's talk about the gap between a prototype and a production-ready product, because this is where things get real. Vibe coding can get you a working UI incredibly fast. Basic functionality, something you can demo in hours or days. And I want to be clear, you can vibe code authentication, payments, all of it. The AI tools can do this, but here's the thing. A lot of vibe-coded apps ship with exposed API keys, unencrypted authentication, open database buckets, not because the builders were careless, because they didn't know how to check. Let me give you some real examples. There was an app called T, a women's dating safety app, got completely breached in 2025. 72,000 private images scraped, including 13,000 government IDs, driver's license, selfies, everything. The app was built using AI-generated Flutter code, and the Firebase backend had zero authentication. As a security researcher who found said, no authentication, no nothing, it's a public bucket. The developer had 6 months of experience. They trusted the AI to handle security. It didn't. Then there's a classic exposed API keys problem. A developer named Andrew Hoffman accidentally published his AWS keys to GitHub. Bots found them in 5 minutes. 5 minutes. He woke up to a $2,000 bill. Someone had spun up 140 servers overnight to mine Bitcoin. AWS told him this happens a lot. There are bots crawling GitHub 24/7 looking for exposed keys. And this is a scary one. A developer asked Cursor to fix a schema issue. Cursor decided the best solution was to drop the entire database and rebuild from scratch. Every user, every subscription, every piece of data gone. Cursor's response? I sincerely apologize. Instead of handling it properly, I chose the nuclear option. So even if you do get the AI to set up authentication and payments and the complexities properly, which is possible, you're still likely dealing with missing input validation, insecure session handling, API endpoints without rate limiting, the stuff that doesn't break until someone attacks it. A Georgetown study found that 48% of AI-generated code contains exploitable security flaws. Almost half, and you can't see these problems by using the app. Everything works perfectly until it doesn't. And when it doesn't, that's when the real headache starts. Even if you manage to avoid the security issues, there's another problem that nobody talks about. I call it the debugging spiral. Here's how it starts. Something isn't working as expected, so you go to the AI and say, this is broken, please fix it. The AI makes some changes. Now something else is broken, something you didn't even touch. So you go back again. Hey, now this other thing is broken. More changes. Now a third thing stops working. This happens because the AI doesn't remember why it made previous decisions. Every change touches code you don't understand. And because you can't see the connections, you can't predict what's going to break. You end up spending hours going back and forth. Each fix introduces a new issue. Eventually, you've touched so much of the code base, you can't even remember what the original problem was. And there's data on this. Developers spend 41% more time debugging AI-generated code when the code base gets large. One developer put it really well. AI tools save 10 minutes and create a bug that takes 2 hours to fix. A bit dramatic, but you get the point. Don't worry though, I've got some tips coming up that can help you avoid the worst of this. Now, if you're building something that needs to work reliably, not a prototype, but a real product with real users, you can book a call below. We helped Equal build a 3-sided finance web app in about 8 weeks, using an approach that's fast, but actually maintainable. But either way, let me give you some practical tips if you are going to vibe code. So let's say you've decided it makes sense in your situation to vibe code. Here's how to do it without ending up in a horror stories. Firstly, treat it as prototyping. Use vibe coding to validate the idea. Will anyone actually want this? Does the flow make sense? But go in knowing you'll probably need to rebuild it for production. Don't just ship the prototype. Second, never accept the first draft for sensitive features, authentication, payments, user data. Don't just accept and move on. Have the AI review its own code for vulnerabilities, or better yet, get an actual developer to check those parts before launch. Third, audit the security basics manually. Check your API keys aren't hard-coded, make sure your database isn't publicly accessible, test edge cases, what happens with weird inputs. These are the things AI tools get wrong by default. Fourth, use version control religiously. Save checkpoints constantly. When the debugging spiral starts, you want to be able to roll back to a working version. This has saved me more times than I can count. And fifth, know when to stop. If you're spending more time fixing than building, if every change breaks something else, that's the signal. Step back and reconsider whether this approach is actually saving you time anymore. And here's my honest take on all of this. As entrepreneurs, it's so easy to get sucked into the latest AI tool. There's a new one every week. And if you're not learning, you feel like you're falling behind. I'm guilty of this. I spend hours testing new AI solutions, telling myself I'm staying current, but a lot of it is just noise. Time I could have spent actually improving my business, solving real problems for real customers. So here's what I've learned. You need your own framework for deciding when to do it yourself with AI and when to let professionals handle it. Otherwise, you're just chasing shiny objects. Which brings me to this. A simple framework for deciding which approach to use for web app building. Vibe coding makes sense when you're validating an idea quickly, when you're building something only you will use, when you're creating a demo for investors, or when you're just experimenting. Basically, when the stakes are low if it breaks. Low-code tools, Webflow, Wiz, Xano, Bubble, make sense when you need a production app that real users will pay for, when you want speed but also maintainability, when security and reliability actually matter. Traditional development makes sense for highly complex custom requirements. Enterprise scalability with specific compliance needs. When you're building something that's absolutely core to a large business with hundreds of thousands of users. The honest truth, there's no wrong answer, just wrong fits. Vibe coding isn't bad, it's just a tool. The mistake is using any tool for the wrong job. And that's exactly why we use the approach we do. We build a Webflow for the design layer, total visual control, Wiz for the application logic, real JavaScript, but you can see it working, and Xano or Supabase for the backend, proper database architecture, real APIs. The key difference is visibility. You get this speed of visual building, but you can actually see the logic, nothing hidden. When something needs to change, you can change it without breaking everything else. And crucially, the next developer can actually understand what's going on. We built an entire booking system for Antarctica 21, a cruise liner. Not a prototype, a full web app using this stack. Maintainable, scalable, secure. They're still running on it and they're still iterating. So that's the full picture on vibe coding, at least as of right now. And I should say these tools are evolving incredibly fast. In a year, I'll probably be making a completely different video about vibe coding. But right now, this is what you need to know to make smart decisions. Thank you for watching.